All right, but first we baseball. Say hey to our panel. Garion Thorne and Nick Friar need your favorite plays at the following positions on tonight's 5-game MLB main slate. We're going to start where we always start with pitcher. Garion, where are you going?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a pretty popular play, but on this small slate with a lot of bad, terrible, awful pitching, I'm just going to eat the chalk and say Alex Cobb, who's $7,700. It's kind of a strange pick because Alex Cobb, the last half decade with Baltimore, has been absolutely terrible, but he's been pretty good through his first 2 starts with the Angels, and specifically that last start against the Royals was really promising. 19 swings and misses generated, 10 strikeouts, 27.8 DraftKings points. Houston is not Kansas City. They actually have the lowest swinging strike rate in all of baseball, so maybe some of those strikeouts are going to be hard to come by, but this Astros team is in shambles right now. They had to put a bunch of guys on the COVID IL, and even though they've gotten Bregman and Alvarez back within the last week, across the last 7 days, they are dead last in baseball in isolated power, in WOBA, in WRC+, and they even got to play a series at Coors. So they are just not hitting right now. I'll take Alex Cobb, who's in a nice little groove, and I think he brings back value at sub 8K.
All right, Nick, Alex Cobb, 4th most expensive pitcher on this slate. Where are you going for your pitcher pick?
I'm going to eat that chalk too. I'm going with Alex Cobb as well for a few different reasons, but similar stuff to what Garion was saying, of course. The Astros OPS actually is one of the lowest against righties this year, as much as they don't strike out a ton. And Cobb had 7 Ks and 6 innings against the White Sox to start the season. And the White Sox don't strike out a ton against righties either. So there is reason to think that it would continue, even though the Astros don't strike out a ton. But of course, they're dealing with other issues that Garion highlighted. The biggest thing with Cobb right now is he's getting hitters to chase more outside the zone than he ever has in his career. And they're also missing more than they have in the past too. So I don't know. I don't think this stuff is going to maintain over the course of the entire season because, I mean, this is Alex Cobb we're talking about. But his FIP is almost at 2 even. I know his ERA is like 4.63, but I wouldn't worry about that right now. I think that he's just going to maintain it right now, and going against the Astros, I feel confident.
All right, so you're eating the chalk at pitcher. What about at infielder, Nick? Where are you going?
I'm actually going to go with Evan Longoria. I know Justin Turner is available on this slate, but I'm going to go and save a little bit and go with Longo because he's kind of back, I think, or maybe just short-term thing like Cobb too. I'm not sure, but he's got 4 home runs, 4 doubles, a 953 OPS. The thing is, though, he's still not hitting right-handed pitching well, but he's facing a lefty tonight, and he's mashing those guys with a 1. He talk about Cobb almost having a sub-2 FIP. He almost has an OPS over 2. All his home runs came against lefties so far this year, and one of his doubles. So I'm taking Longo at third base at 4.4K.
All right, where are you going, Garion?
I'm going to stick at third base. I'm just going to move up $100. A similar spot. We've got a great right-handed hitter against a left-handed pitcher. Chris Bryant, I know the Cubs in general, especially prior to the 16-run outburst yesterday, had just been anemic on offense, but Bryant's actually had a really good start to the season, which is promising because he had such a terrible 2020 campaign. But we know who Chris Bryant is, and it seems like he's back to being himself this season. He's got a 160 WRC plus through his first handful of games. And going back to the start of his career, which is now a huge sample size, his OPS against left-handed pitching is 996. That's one of the highest active marks in all of baseball. He crushes lefties. Joey Lucchesi, not exactly one of the best left-handed pitchers you could hope to face on a slate. Had an okay first start of the season for the Mets, but I'm not scared of him at all. And something to note in this game that's really important, for the first time in, I think, 2 weeks, it's not going to be like snowing in Chicago when the Cubs are playing, and the wind is blowing out today at Wrigley, which turns it into one of the best hitters parks in all of baseball.
All right, Gary, and outfielders, you got, JD Martinez, Mookie Betts, Mike Trout. Where are you going?
I'm going to go to the mid-tier. I mean, sort of mid-tier. He's expensive, but Alex Verdugo is $4,400. The Red Sox have the highest implied team total on this slate by a wide margin, and it's justified because Justin Dunn walks everybody first and foremost. So there's going to be traffic on the base paths. Boston's just going to have to hit with runners in scoring position because they're going to get opportunities. Verdugo has been amazing so far this season against right-handed pitching. He's got a 165 WRC plus. And when Dunn's not walking guys, which again is always, so you got to find like the slim margins here. 2.05 home runs per 9 to left-handed opponents in his brief career. So I think the lefties in this lineup, Verdugo, Devers, are in great spots. But Verdugo's price point at just $4,400, hitting in the top third of this lineup is really enticing.
Nick, where are you going at outfielder? Staying in that mid-tier, or are you paying up a little maybe?
No, I'm going to stay in the mid-tier, and I'm going to stay in this game too. I was actually considering Verdugo too, Garion, so I like that pick. But I'm going to go with the guy who I talked about earlier in the week, but I didn't have him as a cheaper bat. But Mitch Haniger at 4.1K. Going up against Nick Pivetta, I mean, we got to target this guy. So if you can get any piece of the Mariners lineup, if you're not on Haniger like I am, then you got to go with it. But with Haniger, he's mashing righties. He has 8 extra base hits against them this year. 3 of them are home runs, 963 OPS. He has 7 barrels this season and a 3.82 WOBA. And Pivetta is worse against righties than against lefties. And that's been the case since 2019, I believe. So I would target a righty against Pivetta, and I think Haniger is your best option.
All right. How about some value here, Nick? Where are you going to go for that?
So if you want another piece of the Mariners lineup, I have another option for you, and also an outfielder with Kyle Lewis at 3.1K. Yes. And if you go and look at his stats, he's only played in 1 game. He just came off the IL, and believe it or not, he actually barreled up a ball in his first game. So already starting off strong as much as he didn't get a hit. But his power numbers are a little bit better against lefties than they are against righties, but they're pretty similar still. And again, I don't like Pivetta against righties at all. His numbers don't look great. But either way, if he gets knocked out of the game early, Lewis is still going to be good up against the Red Sox bullpen.
All right, Kyle Lewis, 3,100. Garion, you like that pick?
Yeah, I'm actually glad Nick brought it up because I was sitting here like, do I talk about Kyle Lewis or do I talk about Jazz Chisholm? And now I can talk about Chisholm, which is great. He's $3,900. Nice. He has dual position eligibility, which is really nice. You can play him at second base or at shortstop. Aaron Sanchez, for his career, has struggled with left-handed bats, so you have the split advantage in this particular matchup. But really, this is just about Jazz, who, I mean, one of the best names to just write and say in all of baseball, so that's plus points. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what it is with the DK pricing algorithm. Like, he's been so stagnant at $3,900, despite the fact he is doing everything you could ask of a baseball player right now. He's got 3 home runs. He's got 4 stolen bases. He has a 188 WRC plus as a 23-year-old rookie. And yesterday, the Marlins, just to put the cherry on top of the sundae, were like, hey, bat leadoff. I don't know if that's going to happen again tonight, but if it does, I mean, I don't want to say he's a free space, but he is someone I'm going to have massive amounts of exposure to.
Seems like you both just love each other's value picks.
I like Jazz. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I went with him earlier in the week, and he got moved up to the top of the lineup in favor of Dickerson, who I believe Steve picked earlier in the week. So that does that tell you?
Oh, man. Shots fired at Steve. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, how about we move on to our final selection, guys? Sportsbook bet. What's your favorite sportsbook bet, Garion?
We talked about Alex Cobb and him being in a nice spot. Right now, Houston is just reeling. With good reason. Like, I don't want to pile onto this team. It's been a tough stretch, but they're 1-9 in their last 10 games. At some point, that's going to stop. They are getting healthier, but for the Angels to be underdogs in this game, I know they're on the road, but plus 110 on the money line right now. I like the pitching matchup in their advantage. I think they have the left-handed bats at the top of their order, and Ohtani and Walsh to really give Christian Javier some problems. So I'll just take the Angels on the money line at plus money.
Nick, your favorite sportsbook bet for tonight?
It's my favorite game tonight with the Angels and the Astros. I'm going to stick here too, but I'm going to go with the K props. Alex Cobb is at 3.5 right now. I'm going to take the over on that. When I was looking at it earlier, it was plus money. Now it's at minus 130. Somebody over at DK Sportsbook knows what I'm going with for tonight. But I also like Christian Javier too at 5.5. This is a guy who, look, I highlighted Cobb's reasons already. 3.5 Ks, you need to take the over on that one. Absolutely. Even though the money's not as good for Javier, 5.5 plus 120. This is a guy who struck out batters at every level. And I know he's coming off the alternate site right now, but he struck out 7 in 5 innings in his last outing. So this is a guy who has something to prove that last time wasn't a fluke. He's done it at every level. So I'm confident in him getting 5.5, but even more so if you're just going to go with one, you got to go with Cobb over 3.5.